You know that search for something solid to hold on to in a chaotic world? It's one of the oldest human quests there is. It's this deep need we have for certainty, for a little bit of peace, when it feels like everything around us is always shifting. Today, we're going to dive into how the ancient Greeks, the people who pretty much invented Western philosophy, were the first ones to really tackle this fundamental problem head-on. So, these early Greek thinkers, they took this huge, sprawling, existential feeling and boiled it down to one incredibly powerful question. Is the universe, at its core, all about constant, unending change, like a river where the water is never the same twice? Or is true reality something permanent, something eternal and unchanging, like a single solid rock at the heart of everything?
And boy, did this question kick off one of the first great debates in all of philosophy. You had two camps. On one side, you had thinkers who were convinced that change was the ultimate law of the cosmos. And on the other, you had folks who argued just as passionately that all this change we see, well, it's all just an illusion.
Okay, so let's meet the champions of change first. There was this philosopher, Heraclitus of Ephesus, and when he looked at the world, he saw one single unifying rule: flux. Everything is always in motion. For him, the universe wasn't a collection of things, but this dynamic process of eternal becoming, a concept he called de vir.
And this is where his most famous saying comes in, and it just perfectly captures his whole idea. You can't step into the same river twice. I mean, think about it. The river might look the same, but the water flowing through it is always new. And, he argued, so are you. The person stepping into it is also different from moment to moment. For Heraclitus, nothing ever really is. Everything is always in the process of becoming something else.
But of course, not everyone was on board with this idea. A really powerful counter-argument came from a philosopher named Parmenides, and he basically said, hold on a minute, Heraclitus, our senses are tricking us. He believed that true reality, what he called being, was one single thing, eternal, indivisible, and completely, totally motionless.
And the logic he used to get there is pretty wild, and it completely reshaped philosophy. Parmenides argued that we can only think about things that actually exist. I mean, go ahead and try to think about pure nothingness. You can't really get a grip on it, right? So, since change would mean something goes from being into not being, that unthinkable nothingness, he decided that change itself must be logically impossible. It has to be an illusion. The big takeaway for him was that whatever is truly real has to be permanent. So, philosophy was kind of stuck, right? Is everything changing or is nothing changing? It was a huge paradox. But then, along came Aristotle, who offered this absolutely brilliant solution that brought the two sides together, creating a way to think about the world that could explain both stability and change. Aristotle's solution was to introduce two really powerful concepts: potency and act. Potency is just the built-in potential that something has to become something else. And act is the fulfillment, the realization of that potential. His incredible insight was to see that reality isn't just about what a thing is right now, but also what it could become.
Just think about an acorn. An acorn isn't an oak tree yet, but it has the potency to become one. The process of growing, from that little acorn to a sprout, and then to a huge tree, that's the slow-motion process of its potential becoming actualized. And when it's finally a full-grown oak, it has reached its state of act. With this idea, Aristotle showed how something can change dramatically, but still be the same fundamental thing. It's the flowing river and the solid rock, all at once.
So it seemed like Aristotle had kind of settled this great cosmic question. But then history happened. The entire world of the Greeks basically collapsed. And when it did, the focus of philosophy took a massive turn, away from the nature of the universe and toward the nature of the individual self.
You have to understand, for centuries, if you were Greek, your identity was tied to your polis, your city-state. It was a stable, predictable world. But then Alexander the Great's conquests came along and completely shattered that reality. All of a sudden, you weren't a citizen of Athens or Sparta anymore. You were just another face in a huge, chaotic, impersonal empire. It was like the ground had vanished right out from under their feet. So with all of their external foundations, their political and social world, just gone, the search for stability had to turn inward. The most urgent question wasn't about the cosmos anymore. It was about, how do I build a good life for myself? How do I find peace in this crazy, unpredictable world? Philosophy basically became a practical user's manual for living. And in response to this really personal search for stability, 4 major philosophical schools popped up during this new Hellenistic period. Each one offered a different strategy, a unique path to finding peace, not out there in the world, but deep inside yourself.
Now, even though their methods were totally different, they were all chasing the exact same goal, achieving ataraxia. It's a Greek word for this profound state of inner tranquility, a kind of unshakable calmness that's free from fear and anxiety and all that emotional noise. This became the new holy grail for these philosophers.
So what were these paths to peace? Well, you had the Stoics. They taught that true peace comes from accepting what you can't change and focusing only on what you can control. Then you had the Epicureans, who argued that tranquility comes from seeking simple, moderate pleasures and avoiding pain. The Cynics took a more radical approach. They said you should reject all social rules, money, and status to just live a simple, natural life. And finally, the Skeptics believed the only way to get peace of mind was to just suspend judgment on everything, because we can never really know the absolute truth. There's this one legendary story that just sums up this whole new spirit perfectly. You've got Alexander the Great, literally the most powerful man in the world, and he walks up to the Cynic philosopher Diogenes, who owned nothing and lived in a barrel. Alexander says, "Ask me for anything you want." And Diogenes just looks up at him and says, "Stand out of my sunlight." I mean, what a powerful statement, right? It's the ultimate rejection of power and status for simple, natural freedom.
And so, this whole ancient search brings us right back to our own lives, today. From that cosmic debate between the river and the rock to this intensely personal search for inner peace, these Greek thinkers forged the very questions, and many of the answers, that we still turn to. Their quest is still our quest. In a world that feels like it's constantly changing, the question is more urgent than ever. What's your rock? Where do you find your stability?